researched Year of Dangerous Days, I was very conscious about not responding to what Miami was in sort of 2015 when I started my research. I was thinking very much about the demographics of Miami from 1980, which were sort of it was fascinating because it was really quite probably the period of the city where power was spread while demographics were spread relatively evenly. So the Black community in Miami was around 20% participants. White was probably 40 and Latin was 40. That changes within 1980, but at the beginning of 1980, that's what it looked like. So, when I was doing my research and finding people to talk to, if anything, I probably if I look at my interviews, I would guess they're probably 30% Black, because the Black Miami story was very important for this book. So that was probably over-indexed for me. So I would probably guess I did a third on interviews between what I call sort of Miami's tribes: Anglo-Miami, Black Miami, and Latin Miami. But all people were totally welcoming. The only people who really didn't want to talk to me was criminal Miami, which is probably a large demographic down here of its own. But regardless of skin color, those folks weren't crazy when I rang them out of the blue. We always thought there are no second lives, or are there second lives in the American Act? In Miami, there are plenty of second and third lives. You'd be stunned to know what people who were convicted in the early 80s are doing today. One of the guys who hung up on me incredibly quickly, who was convicted and sent to prison, he was a homicide cop who was quietly working for a cocaine dealer. He is now head of security at one of the largest networks in the United States. So that sort of thing, those were the people who didn't want to talk to me. Everyone else couldn't have been kinder. Some people I would have to knock on doors repeatedly, but eventually they'd open. And once they'd opened, everything was fine. But I have very few people who said, no thanks, no interest in interviewing. I think the general sense for me was that people were really happy to share their stories. And I've always found that, especially in books where I have had to go and interview people who are, let's say, between 70 and 90, they're probably even happier to share their stories than younger folks, just because, guess what? The kids have already heard them. The grandkids aren't interested. And if someone's knocking on your door, you do pause for a moment and you go, well, actually, that was a fascinating time in my life, and I do have a story to tell. And I think, that's something that shouldn't be taken for granted.